All right, then to wrap this up, my function rule is x comma y, arrow, x plus 12, comma y. That would be a rule that would describe the translation in this case. Now, I want to point something out. So when we have a horizontal translation is one that actually moves it in which direction? All right, it moves it in the x direction. And in the last, rule, it had x plus 12, comma y. So it does make sense to me that if we move in the x direction, then we're changing the x's and we're moving it left or right. So horizontal translation moves it left or it moves it right. Now, I just want to ask you a question to push just a little bit. What if, okay, and this moved it 12 units right. What if I wanted to make it go backwards or left so many units? Well, I hope that you would see that you would simply take the x's and you would subtract a value, okay? Maybe I'm going to move it 5 units left. So maybe I would say minus 5. So it turns out if you just want to move it in one direction, like the x direction, you only change the x's, the y's stay the same. If you add, it goes to the right. If you subtract, it does what? It goes to the left. Okay, just kind of wrap that up. Let's move on to vertical translations. Vertical translation then, of course, means up and down. So I'm going to move it up or I'm going to move it down. Okay, look real quick at your picture. Can you quickly recognize now, after looking at the last one, which is the pre-image and which is the new image? All right, well, I hope you see that this is regular A. This is A prime. So that makes this the pre-image, and it makes the second one at the bottom the new image, okay, or the image. All right, we have moved down. Notice we've not changed the shape. We've not changed the size. So we're still going to be talking about congruent images, okay? They're the same shape and the same size, same angles, same lengths, okay? Picture and size exactly looks the same. Looks like you just went and you shoved it down the page. All right, let's plot our points. A, -5 and up 2. So get to A prime. I'm going to go to -5 still, but I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So over 5 and down 7. And I'll list that as A prime. B prime, okay? -5 and down to this one here is -5. So -5 to the left, -5 down. C prime, okay? To get to C right here on the corner, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, down 1, down 2. So -5, down 2. D prime, I'm going to go farther over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8, -8, and then I have to go down 2, -2. E prime, last one. I go -8 over here and down 1, 2, 3, 4. -8. Let's see, is it 1, 2, 3, 4? Okay. -8, down 4. All right. What happened this time? Let's look for patterns. I'd like to point out the x coordinate. X always comes first, so x is first and y is second. The x coordinate's -5. Whoops. And highlight -5, -5, -8, -8. -5 is my new. -5, -5, -8, -8. When I compare my old x's or my pre-image x's to my image x's, what do you notice? This time if we write anything in words, I hope we see that the x's stay the same. But the y's changed. Now let's pause and let's see how the y's changed. Well, we did observe that when we move it down, the y values changed. It went from -2 to +2 to -7, from +5 to -5. Is that right? Let me see. I think I've got the wrong number. 1, 2, 3, 4. It should only be 4. So when I go down, I'm sorry, that should have been -4. Just caught that. Have the wrong point there. So I go from +5 to -4, +7 to -2, +7 to -2, 5 to -4. All right. How much down did I go? Well, if I count from point to point, all right, I'll try to clean my picture up. From A to A prime, from here to here, I can count and see how many points I moved. I went down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Looks like I went down 9. Do you think down would be +9 or would down be -9? Well, it turns out down is -9. So from A to A prime, I went down 9. Now, up and down is when we mess with the y's. So I'm going to take that y value of 2 and I'm going to -9. Well, it turns out 2 minus 9, look at that, -7. When I go from B, the corner of the flag on B to B prime, guess what? I go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Again, I'm going down 9, which is -9. So I'm going -9, and that gives me -4. If I do the same thing, and if you do a translation, remember, nothing has to change. The size doesn't change. So if I do that to one point, I would need to do that same thing to every point. Okay? So -9 to -4, or 5 minus 9 takes me to -4. So if I were to finish my description, the x's stayed the same, but the y's went down 9 units. Okay? Let's write a rule. Again, this is a function rule that begins with me describing my original x's and y's, and then I draw an arrow to show how they changed. Well, x's stayed the same. So if x's stay the same, x is first, x is still first. Y's went down 9 units, and we already said down kind of hints at -9. So y -9. That's our rule. And I went down 9 for every one. So if I counted from E to E prime, I would go down 9. If I go from D to D prime, again, -9. From C to C prime, -9. What you do to one point, you must do the same thing so that the picture stays perfect. All right, that's a vertical translation. Notice that we only changed the y's. All right, only change the y's. And it's vertical. Vertical's in the up and down direction, which is in the y direction. All right, let's go ahead to oblique translation. That's how you say that word. It's called oblique. And I want you to take a look at my flag. My blue flag is my start flag, which is just letter A, B, C, D, and E. My new flag is A prime, B prime, C prime, D prime, and E prime. I know the primes mean that's my image. Excuse me, this is my pre-image, and this one is my image. Okay. Now it looks like, kind of looks like when you look at it, that this flag went sideways. Okay. It means that it actually went horizontal and vertical at the same time. If I tried to slide this over, I would first maybe slide it over to here, and then I would slide it down to here. When I do that, I would actually have A in the position that it's at. So my A here would carry onto itself on A prime. If I go B, and then I go down to B, and stop right there, I would end up doing the same thing. Let's count and see how many units we're moving our flag. Well, first of all, I'm going to count going across. Looks like I'm going to push it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 across. So it's going right 10 units. Okay, everybody agree with that? Then I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4. So then I went down 4. So to go from A to A prime, it did look like I went on a diagonal, but that's actually a product of going right and then down. Right 10 and down 4. Now, do I do the same thing every time? I think so. So if I go from B and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and guess what? Down 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom. Right 10, okay. Again, right 10 and down 4. Boom. Now stop right there. So I actually found that pattern with two variables. Guess what happens? They all should do the same pattern. Now, we're going to describe it in words. We've already done that. We went right 10. We went down 4. Now, I'm going to try to write a rule for this one, and I'm going to start talking about my original x's and y's, and I'd like you to help me figure out the new rule. Now, this one has, you know, last time we had like x's stayed the same or y's stayed the same, but in this one, x's don't stay the same, y's don't stay the same. So something has to happen to my x, and something happens to my y, so I'm going to have to add or subtract something to both of them. Well, take the first part, right 10 units. This part, since it goes right and left, that's going to be in the x direction. And if it goes right, we're going to say that's a positive direction, so we're going to say x plus 10. Okay? Now, down is in the up and down direction, right? It's in the y direction. And when I say that I go down 4, that's actually not positive 4. That's going to be considered what? Negative 4. So I'm going to go in the y direction, and I'm going to subtract 4. So I have changed my x's. That should be a horizontal. Okay, and this is my vertical, and they both took place at the same time. So that's actually what the word oblique means. It refers to horizontal plus vertical translation at the same time. Now, I actually approached this by going straight to a description and straight to the rule, but let's just see if that holds true. Okay, let's just see if that holds true. I'm going to clean up my picture, and we're going to apply the rule and see if we end up at the point. So I'm going to plot that point right there. All right, in just a second, I'm going to predict that A prime, I've predicted that it's x's plus 10. So I'm going to take x's and I'm going to plus 10. Well, if I do that, negative 5 plus 10 would be positive 5. Okay, that would be x plus 10. That would be that part. Okay, every y should be subtract 4. So I'm going to take the y value of 2 and I'm going to subtract 4. 2 subtract 4 would be what? Negative 2. If I'm correct, this point right here on the graph, A prime should be positive 5, negative 2. Let's just check it out. Sure enough, from the center, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, down 2. So that checks out. If I'm correct for B prime, okay, again, I'm going to follow the rule. What you do to one point, you have to do to all points. Every x, add 10, get positive 5. Every y, subtract 4. 5 subtract 4 gives me 1. 5, 1. Over 5, up 1. Sure enough, that's exactly where B located, B prime. I would add 10 to every x. Again, C prime would end up at positive 5, and I'm going to subtract 4 from every y value, which would land me at positive 3. So over 5, positive 3, sure enough, over 5, positive 3. It works for every x and every y. So I hope that you're kind of getting a good idea of what an oblique translation is all about. All right. Now, I gave you class. This was our notes. I did take more time with the video than I might have taken in class because I had class to help me. So this slide, if you would like to pause it, you're welcome to. This is where I summarized. Okay. Translations is when you sliding an image. That means sliding an image across or up and down without changing it in any way. Without changing it. That's where we talk about it being what? Congruent. All right, that's the word I need you to know. I'm throwing that in there now. You're going to hear it again later. Horizontal means I'm moving it across. So I'm actually talking about x plus or minus h. Now, what in the world is h? And h is simply some number. I might want to move my picture on my screen 5 units to the right. Someone next to me might want to move their picture on their screen 5 units to the left. So you could add a number or you could subtract a number, and h is simply referring to some number. All right? Y's stay the same. If we add or subtract to the x's, y's stay the same. If we add, it moves to the right. If we subtract, it moves to the left. Those are just some general things. Now vertical. Vertical is when it moves up and down. X's and Y's. X's stay the same. Okay. You add or subtract to the Y's. X's stay the same. When you add or subtract, and this time I'm using letter K, K again is just some number. I can push mine up 10, or I might push it down 5. So if you add, it goes up, and if you subtract, guess what? It goes down. Subtract, it goes down. If you add, it goes up. All right. Oblique is simply when it moves horizontal and vertical at the same time, and that's where you're going to add something to the X's or subtract something, and add or subtract something to the Y's. In other words, you're going to move it in both directions at the same time. All right. Let's look and see what you were asked to do with an investigation. Now, I gave you a sheet. These are the ones that we wanted you to practice in class, so I could help and see if there was any misconceptions, and then you would go on to the sheet that had homework. All right, we have a verbal description. Given points A, B, C, and I'm simply going to list A, B, C in my table here. -1, 1. Okay. B is 2, 4, and C is 4, 1. I'm just going to list those X's and Y's. Now it's telling me to translate. Again, translate means to slide it. And it's saying left 4 units. Now if I go left 4 units, is that going to be changing the X's or changing the Y's? Left. I think that's going to be changing the X's. So X's are going to change. All right. Now it's also said 1 unit up. Up 1 unit. So I think that's referring to Y's are going to change. So Y changes. So let's see if we can find an algebraic rule. Okay. X, Y, arrow. Now, we're doing 2 things. X's are going to change. Okay, I'll leave space. Y's are going to change. I'm going to leave space. So what would it do if it says left 4 units? Is that +4 or -4? Turns out left 4 is -4. Okay, so X is -4. Y's, though, go up 1 unit. So if we go up 1 unit, is that up 1 like +1 or -1? So up would be +1, and we're going to add that to the Y's. So now we have written our algebra or function rule for the problem. And I can actually recopy that here. X -4, Y +1. Now, it's actually given me a space to graph it. So it's like putting together the words, the verbal description. That's what we have here. Can we write an algebra rule? That's what we have here. Can we figure out the points? Here we have the points. It's also called to it the domain. The points that we begin with are called the domain of the graph. The points we end up with are called the range of the graph. And we're going to see if we can figure out the range. And then we're going to put them on a graph. Okay, let's see if we can finish this one. My rule says take every X number and add 4. Well, my first X number is -1. And I'm going to, subtract 4. So I'm going to subtract 4. Take this X number 2 and subtract 4. Take this X number 4 and subtract 4. So I'm just concentrating on the X part right now. Just the X part. Okay, I'm just doing this part. What's -1 minus 4? Well, that new X value would be -5. What's 2 minus 4? That'd be a new X value of -2. What's 4 minus 4? That'd be a new X value of 0. If I've got it right, I should have my new values in there. All right, now I'm going to take a look at my Y values. My Y values. All right, my Y value is 1. I'm doing this one right here, and I'm going to add 1. 1 plus 1. Y value is 4. 4 plus 1. Y value is 1. 1 plus 1. My new Y value would be 2. Okay, the answer goes here. My new Y value would be 5. And my new Y value would be 2. Okay, so I just have my new points and I have my old points. If this is A, this would be labeled A prime, B prime, and C prime. Let's put the new points on there and see if it matches. So, okay, -1, 1, -1 and up 1, that's regular A. 2, 4, over +2 and up 1, 2, 3, 4, that's regular B. And over +4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and up 1. And that would be C. I have a triangle that looks like that. Now, I could count this off. I could say, well, I should be at I should go left 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then up 1. So that should be located A prime. Let's just see what the point's supposed to be. -5, 2. -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, boom, up 2. That is the point -5, 2. So I can either plot the point or I can count it off. Okay, -2 up 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That should be B prime. And 0 up 2, and that should be C prime. Boom. If I did that correctly, of course I didn't really draw a good picture on the bottom, but that should be translated 4 units left and 1 unit up. That's a representation. Again, verbal description. Can I say it in words? Can I write out a formula that would help me calculate the new points? Can I talk about the points and write them down? Can I talk about the new points and write them down? And lastly, can I do a graph? And yes, I can. 4 representations of the same thing. So I will post the solutions on a different tab on this website, but that way you have a video to get you going with lesson 1.